Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. We've got all the Thursday night football picks you can handle on this show, including from Gilles Gallant and Prob Bomb. We'll also talk college football with Mike Calabrese. But we start with the most bet props for tonight via BetMGM. Stefon Diggs to score the first touchdown, Dalton Kincaid to score a touchdown, and to go over 37.5 receiving yards. 99% of money is on that over. Also, Rachaad White to go under 46.5 rushing yards and over 22.5 receiving yards. 99% of money on that over as well. So it's that time again when we bring in Sean Koerner, aka the odds maker. Always good to see you. First, any thoughts on those popular props that we just mentioned?
Yeah, so the first one would be Dalton Kincaid over 37.5 receiving yards. Once again, the market seems to have the right idea. Dawson Knox has already been ruled out. Even third string tight end Quinnen Morris is also out. So Dalton Kincaid is just going to see a ton of snaps, maybe every snap. The Bills might activate some guy named Joel Wilson, so he might play a few snaps, but it's going to be all Dalton Kincaid tonight. He's coming off a career best game where he caught 8 balls for 75 yards. The only concern with this is he's only averaging 7.7 yards per catch on the season. He's just not seeing many targets downfield. So it's just going to be tougher to rack up receiving yards if that's the case. I have a hunch that he's probably going to run more routes downfield similar to Dawson Knox, so that could help things. But, I think his receptions prop might be the safer way to go. He has a 96% catch rate because he's seeing so many high percentage targets. So I've seen, you can take 5+ receptions at like plus 102 at some books. I think that's probably the safer way to go than his receiving yards. But I like where the market's headed here.
Interesting. I like that idea. Anything else that you wanted to highlight there?
Yeah, and the other prop would be Rachaad White over 22.5 receiving yards. Again, a very logical way to go for the market because he's struggled as a runner this year. But he's always profiled more as a pass catching back. And this, should be a game where, the Bucs are almost 10-point underdogs. It's going to be more of a trailing pass heavy game script. Baker Mayfield's dealing with a knee injury too, so he's probably less willing to scramble. He's been scrambling quite a bit this year. So that could be more dump offs to Rachaad White. Rachaad White is going to dominate third down, 2-minute offense work. Those are really the key snaps when it comes to this market. Having said all that, I'm pretty much in line with this prop, but I like the logic, again, where the market is heading with this.
Fair enough. Well, we want to get your favorite prop, but we're gonna make everyone wait just a little bit longer. We're gonna keep them on the hook. So before we do that, do you have a pick on the side or total tonight?
Yeah, I actually do like the over tonight. I locked it in last night at over 42.5. It's up to 43.5 now, but I still like it there. And this is a game where, according to our luck totals, there's quite a bit of value on the over. It has a rating of plus 6.8. Which one way to think about it is these teams combined have maybe scored around 7 points less than expected per game, according to our expected score that we use to fuel the luck rankings. And I think a lot of that has to do with just both defenses likely to regress in a couple of key areas. Both of these defenses have allowed an above average yards per drive on the season, but ranked bottom 10 in terms of points allowed per drive. A big part of that is both of these teams ranked top 3 in turnovers generated, which isn't usually a sustainable stat. And another metric is both of these teams ranked bottom 6 in red zone touchdown percentage allowed. The Bucs have actually allowed the lowest rate at 22%. That is definitely not sustainable. I expect them to allow closer to the league average of 54% of red zone drives going forward. So, scoring is likely to go up for both these teams. So this is a good spot, I think, to invest in the over. So like I said, I grabbed it at 42.5. It's at 43.5, but I think there's still plenty of value here on the over.
Be honest, do you get less excited when you're betting an over, or are you like about the same?
Well, I mean, overs are more exciting to root for. So it is fun
Yeah.
to root for an over, but I have conditioned myself to love, probably too much, rooting for unders when it
Yes.
comes to totals or props. But I could go both ways. As long as I think there's value, I will have fun rooting for it.
Of course, of course. The under's a bit of a an acquired taste, we'll say.
Yes.
Okay, but without further ado, what is your favorite prop for tonight?
So my favorite prop for tonight is an under that I love, and it's Rashad White, his longest rush to go under 13 and a half yards. You can actually get it at minus 122 right now. But he has yet to have a single rush attempt this year to clear on 83 attempts this year. He's yet to clear this. I don't know what else I have to say. That's it. Show's over. I'll elaborate a little bit more. Um, Last year, he had 129 attempts, and he only cleared it 4 times last year. So if you were to just base this off his career rushing distribution, and the market is projecting him for 12 and a half rush attempts tonight, that would be about an 80% chance he stays under. Now, I don't think we can expect him to continue to be that bad going forward. I do think he will only get better going forward. But it's unlikely he's going to get that much better. He's really struggled as a runner this year. The offensive line has done him zero favors. Tampa Bay actually ranks dead last in ESPN's run blocking win rate. So he hasn't had much room to run with, and he hasn't been good with the room he has had to run with. So, the Bucs, like I mentioned, are a 9.5 point underdog tonight, which means it'll likely be a more pass-heavy trailing game script than the Bucs have seen this year. So it's just going to be less opportunities for White on the ground. Plus, the Buccaneers have been desperately trying to get one of their backups to step up and eat into his early down work this year. Both Sean Tucker and Keyshawn Vaughn have failed miserably doing that, but they get Chase Edmonds back from the IR tonight, and he's actually been the most effective runner this season on a limited sample size, of course. But I could see him eating into Rachaad White's early down work, which only lowers his floor even more in this market. So I'm projecting this closer to 10.5 yards for his longest rush of the night, with about a 67% chance he stays under 13 and a half.
So, kind of in line with a lot of the bettors who are planning to bet his under rushing total overall, but this is obviously a different spin on it. Before you go, I got to ask, is it true that you and our colleague Chris Raybon are going to the Lakers game tonight?
Yes, that is true. Guilty.
Okay, I have to say I'm a little jealous because you know I'm an NBA gal. But you're not. But you're not a Lakers fan.
Oh, I'm a fan of whoever or whatever I have money on. So no, I don't have an allegiance to any team.
Okay.
I actually have no bets for tonight. So if there's anything you think I should take, let me know.
Ooh, very interesting. Because I was going to ask you, like, if you had any ideas of anything you might bet. Well,
no
we'll
clue.
talk offline. I'm
Okay.
actually going to do some ranting about the NBA a little bit later in the show, so stick around for that. And I'm told, as per usual, the line is already on the move for the prop that you just gave. So make sure to hurry up and bet it if you haven't yet. Sean Koerner, thanks so much for joining the show.
All right, let me know what I need to bet on tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
My 3 touchdown scorer picks for Buccaneers Bills, brought to you by the Action Network app. And my first pick, it's going to be a really popular one. We're going with Dalton Kincaid. I grabbed his touchdown odds at plus 260. Now, they might elevate somebody from the practice squad, but both Dawson Knox and Quentin Morris are out, so he's really the only tight end left. And that means he's going to get the lion's share of snaps and volume at tight end. And this Bucs defense, they allow the 8th most targets to tight ends this year. That's the weakest part of their defense, is clearly it's over the middle. Now, Kincaid, he had 8 targets last week. He's 3rd on the Bills in targets per game, has yet to have a drop this year. And the golden rule last year was we always auto bet Dawson Knox when his touchdown odds are over plus 200. Well, Knox is out, so the torch is going to get passed to Kincaid in this spot. And for my next pick, we're taking both Bucs wide receivers. We're going to take Mike Evans at plus 210 and Chris Godwin at plus 275. Now, Evans, he's done nothing but catch touchdowns this year. Touchdowns in 4 of 6 games. The Bills are last in DVOA to wide receiver 1 and 22nd in DVOA versus the deep pass. Now, Evans, he's got at least 8 targets in 5 of 6 games, but that volume is also like why we like Chris Godwin, because he's got 49 targets. He has the second most in the NFL without a touchdown, so the volume is clearly there. And he leads the Bucs in red zone targets with 9, 6 targets inside the 10. So it's a great positive regression candidate for a touchdown. With the Bills' injuries in the secondary, possible weather issues, and a trailing game script, we got to go with the Bucs wide receivers here. So those are my 3 picks. We're going with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Dalton Kincaid, all tracked at the Action Network app. Bon chance.
Time for Skin in the Game, presented by Caldera Lab. And here's a market report for tonight's NFL game. Buffalo was favored by 7.5. That has since moved to 9.5. 77% of bets and 71% of money is coming in on the Bills, while the majority of bets and money are also coming in on the over 43.5. Let's say hello to Prob Bomb once again. Happy to have you back. Last week, you gave out Seattle's Kenneth Walker to go over 71.5 rushing yards. He finished with 105. So maybe a tough act to follow, but what do you have for us this time?
Thanks, Maria. Yeah, so for Thursday Night Football, my favorite way to attack this game is going to be doing a 2-leg pairing of Dalton Kincaid to have over 3.5 receptions and the Bills to win. You can get that right now at -110 at DraftKings. And Dalton Kincaid, honestly, is coming off his best game of his rookie season in Week 7. He had a season-high 8 receptions on the team, a 28% target per route run rate. You love to see. And what I love the most about this is that I don't like this for Dawson Knox, but Dawson Knox is going to be indefinitely out for 3 weeks because of a wrist surgery, and that's going to make a larger role happen for Dalton Kincaid, and he's not going to have any more competition to run routes for tight ends. The matchup is great here for going up against Tampa Bay. They are 10th right now in zone coverage rate, where Dalton Kincaid actually has 20 of his 24 completions in this coverage. It's an 83% rate. And in general, as far as target rates to opposing tight ends, five of the 6 opposing tight ends against the Buccaneers. 1 week where it missed was against the New Orleans Saints, and they have like Juwan Johnson. They don't even no one targets him, but it's a really nice hit rate. And I think they're just a very concentrated offense right now going on with the Bills. Really, I think Kincaid has no competition to secure those 4 receptions. And it's -180 right now, so I'm not comfortable taking it solo, but I am comfortable pairing it with the Bills money line. It's a must win for them. They're 4-3 on the season, coming off some tough losses. I do understand that they're missing some key pieces on the defense with Matt Milano and Trey White. But they're 8.5 favorites, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in fact 2-12 against the spread against winning teams, and this is just a must win. They got to do this before they face the Chiefs and Jets coming up. So love this two-leg pairing for my favorite Thursday night player prop.
I do agree with you that it's a critical spot for Buffalo. You mentioned the struggles that they've had the last few weeks, obviously trying to keep pace with Miami in their division, have Cincinnati up next. So this is the time to get a win, and someone's got to step up and make plays. Kincaid seems primed to do so. So Prob Bomb, thanks again.
Thank you. Let's cash this bet.
And just for our audience, we have an exclusive deal. You're not beating this offer. Use code GDD at calderalab.com and get 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code GDD at calderalab.com to make unforgettable first impressions with the best gift this holiday season. To college football, some intriguing matchups tonight and tomorrow. Syracuse getting the points at Virginia Tech at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, as well as Georgia State taking on the short favorite Georgia Southern. And then Friday, Florida Atlantic favored against Charlotte. Our college football expert, Michael Calabrese, joins us now. Before I get your pick for tonight, I got to ask about this Georgia Southern game, because you informed me it's known as modern day hate, which I think is hilarious. Can you give us the context behind this one?
Sure. So Georgia Tech and the University of Georgia have played since 1893, and their rivalry is called clean old-fashioned hate. So Georgia State and Georgia Southern now just playing the 10th time in their series is modern day hate. I agree. I think it's a great band name. It should also be a great football game between these two teams because in the weird year that is going on in the Sun Belt East, James Madison is nationally ranked. They're undefeated, but the NCAA has them in this transitional period. So they are ineligible for playing in the Sun Belt title game. That opens up the door for both Georgia State and Georgia Southern that each have one loss in Sun Belt play. So the winner here really controls their own destiny to get to the title game. And an interesting matchup between these two because it's kind of boom or bust for Georgia Southern. They're not very good defensively, but they're fifth nationally in defensive havoc. So they gamble a lot, they bring pressure, they create turnovers against a Georgia State team that's third in rushing explosives. So I really feel like if you're going to play this one, go with an alternate line, either of these teams to win by 7 or more.
All right, I don't want to open up this whole other box, but I am curious, like when you have a conference change for a team, do you think like that whole not allowing them to play in the tournament is just so that it gives the rest of the conference like a chance to adapt?
It used to be, in terms of a transition from 1AA or the FCS up to the FBS level, it used to make sense in terms of getting, the scholarship players up to snuff, like having the build up in terms of your stadium, a lot of the off-field things. But now these teams are primed and ready. They come right in. James Madison won national titles at the FCS level. And in terms of their overall talent, they were beating FBS teams when they played in those paycheck games. So they're ready to go from the get-go. I think this is ridiculous. The governor of Virginia was writing letters to the NCAA and, basically begging them to let them, in year 2 of their transition to be eligible right away. Because this happened last year as well. They got off to a hot start, but they were in the same boat where they were ineligible. One little interesting wrinkle, Brett McMurphy puts out his bowl projections every single week. If there are not enough bowl eligible teams, meaning that they get to 6-6 or better, James Madison then gets an invite. So that you could see them playing as a nationally ranked team, 12th in the country in like the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So just a very strange happenstance for the Dukes this year.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for addressing that. I was just curious. Okay, which of these weeknight games are you betting?
So I really like Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and I like this spot because there's a player prop on the board that I think is significantly mispriced, and it's Kyron Drones, the quarterback for Va Tech, going over 55 rushing yards in this game. It's pretty simple. He was a stud coming out of high school. He won a 5A state title in Texas. Very difficult to do, undefeated season. 4-star recruit, goes to Baylor. He's, a lot of buzz about him potentially being a starter early in his career there. But he ends up transferring to Va Tech, and I think it took a little bit of luster off of his recruiting profile, and people forgot about how good this kid is. Now that he's the starter, he has been super dynamic. They finally have a chance to get back to bowl eligibility. They're 3-4 in the season. This is a critical game for them. And when it comes to, between the lines, he averages 17 carries per game as a starter. You want opportunity to be able to hit the rushing over here. You got to have carries on design runs. And you also have to have some luck in terms of scrambles. And what's going to happen here is Syracuse is going to put a lot of pressure on them. Defensively, Syracuse has been up and down this year. They feasted on weaker competition in September. And in the last 2 weeks, they've given up 81 points and 977 total yards to North Carolina and Florida State. So they're going to gamble, and that could result in a 20, 30, 40-yard scramble by Drones. And that's why I really like this number sitting at 55. You get a big chunk of it in just one play.
I'm sold. I did want to ask your reaction because we had Colin Wilson on the show yesterday. He liked Q's plus the points.
Yeah, Syracuse, it's difficult to find out exactly who they are in terms of their identity. As I mentioned, they were playing early in the season at a much higher level. Emotionally, had they bottomed out a little bit? They've started 0-3 in ACC play. Are they able to get off the mat in, still for my money, one of the best environments in all of college football? Enter Sandman. It's going to be rocking there in Blacksburg. So I'm going to go against Colin on this one. Not usually a profitable thing in terms of fading Wilson, but I'm going to go with the Hokies here as a home dog.
I just want to be clear. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot to go one way or the other. I just wanted to know generally what you thought, but whatever. It's cool. Breeze, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
The NHL announced that restricted free agent Shane Pinto has been suspended 41 games for activities relating to sports wagering, though the league's investigation found no evidence that Pinto made any wagers on NHL games. His suspension is the first in league history related to sports betting. The NHLPA says Pinto will not be appealing. This was a negotiated resolution. The 22-year-old center scored 20 goals and tallied 35 points in 82 games for the Senators last season. He released a statement saying, quote, "I want to apologize to the National Hockey League, the Ottawa Senators, my teammates, the fans and city of Ottawa, and most importantly, my family. I take full responsibility for my actions and look forward to getting back on the ice with my team." Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, you can easily reference. Just follow Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. All right, so we're just a couple days into the NBA season, but I gotta say, I'm already more engaged than I expected to be, and part of it is just the curiosity of seeing stars in new uniforms. I may have been wrong to be skeptical of Boston adding Kristaps Porzingis. If he consistently produces the way he did last night, the Celtics will be in good shape. I do caution, while he played 65 games last year, he averaged just under 40 games played in his previous 5 seasons. As for tonight, the NBA made a great choice scheduling Damian Lillard's debut with the Bucks up against Thursday Night Football. I can't wait to see Dame play with Giannis, albeit against a 76ers team that'll probably look way different later in the season, thanks to more drama involving James Harden. For what it's worth, I lean Bucks might take a flyer on the Heat to win the East, but gonna hold off on betting futures for a couple more weeks. That's all for this episode of Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again Friday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.